Welcome back to Law Simple and Pure. I'm your host Dr. Vaishali, and in today's lecture we are going to learn some general defenses which are available in case of law of torts. As we all know, plaintiff files a case against defendant in a court of law. In that case, if these defenses are there or these are available, then defendant is not liable to pay damages to the plaintiff. Right? So in today's lecture, we are going to see all these defenses one by one. So let us begin. First, we will learn meaning of these general defenses and all the general defenses one by one. General defenses are those defenses which have evolved over time and accepted by the courts from time to time. As you all know, our law relating to torts is derived from English law of torts. And English law of torts has its origin in common law. And common law is nothing but judge-made law. And that's why these defenses are developed by courts over the period of time. Okay. Second point. General defenses can be taken as excuses in order to escape the liability in torts. So usually when defendant is liable, he has to pay damages to the plaintiff, right? But if these defenses are there in the case, then he is not liable to pay damages and he can escape the liability. Number 3, there are some defenses which are associated with certain offenses. Like in case of defamation, defense of truth, privilege and fair comment are available. Okay. So every defense is not available in every case. In case of defamation, what are the defenses? Defamation मतलब किसी को बदनाम करना. So what are the defenses available? Defendant is telling truth. Okay. Or defendant has a privilege because he is a government servant and he can publish the information. Such type of privilege. And fair comment. Okay. If the comment is fair, he cannot be sued for the defamation. So all the defenses are not available in all the case. It depends upon case to case. Last point, while there are other defenses can be sued in all or many of torts like consent and third parties fault. So in every case defenses are different. Sometimes consent was there is a defense, or sometimes defendant was not at fault but third party was at fault can be a defense. So basically these defenses vary or depend upon case to case basis. There are 8 defenses available. What are they? 1. Volunty non-fit injuria. It or consent was there. Second, plaintiff is the wrongdoer. Plaintiff की अपनी भी गलती है. This is a defense. Third, inevitable accident. An accident which cannot be avoided even after taking care. Number 4, act of God or act of nature which is beyond human beings' control. Next is private defense. While defending a person or property, harm is caused. So that is called as a private defense. Next is necessity. Okay, necessity is a defense. Number 7 is mistake. Mistake is generally not a good defense. It depends upon case to case. And last is statutory authority. Statutory means law, okay, which is given by law. So if authority is given to do something, then in that case you cannot sue that officer who is acting under statutory authority. So these are the 8 defenses available to a defendant when plaintiff files a case in a court of law. If these defenses are there or any one of them is present there in a case, then in that case defendant is not liable to pay any damages to the plaintiff. So now let us learn all the defenses one by one along with proper case laws. While writing your paper, please follow all these points. I'm making couple of videos in this slide format so that you will get easy notes and easy note points which you can develop and write a very good answer in your question paper. One more thing students, as you all know, I'm a law professor and I make these videos just for the benefit of students. There are videos on all the law subjects including legal method, constitutional law, jurisprudence, criminal law, criminology, law of contract 1 and 2, law of torts, legal maxims, interpretation of statutes, administrative law, alternative dispute resolution, and so on. So please subscribe and like, and please comment for next videos. Number one defense which is available to a defendant is volenti non fit injuria. It means consent was given by plaintiff. The Latin maxim volenti non fit injuria means a person who is willing to suffer and give consent for suffering harm and injury caused by actions of defendant cannot complain against such injury. In short, a person cannot enforce such rights which he himself has willfully and with his consent waived. Suppose a cricket match is going on. An umpire is monitoring a cricket match. In that case, if a ball comes and hits the umpire cannot file a suit against cricket authorities because he knew the fact that in a match he might get hurt. Still he selected a job of that umpire, right? So cricket authorities may help him, they may give him some compensation, but they are not under a liability to pay it because he voluntarily consented for this job, and this is called volenti non fit injuria. Point number 2. For this defense to be available, it is important to show that the consent of the plaintiff was freely given. Okay, so consent must be free, out of free will he should do it, not by force, coercion, undue influence, or by mistake. Next, if the consent was obtained under any compulsion or fraud, then it is not a good defense. Okay, if you force someone to enter into some act, okay, then in that case you cannot get the defense of volenti non fit injuria. Next, the consent must be given for an act done by the defendant. If a person is not in a condition to give consent, then his or her guardian's consent is sufficient. Let us see some examples of volenti non fit injuria. When you call a guest to your house, you cannot sue your guest for trespass, right? If you call your friend and ask him to come for dinner to your house, then afterwards you cannot say that without my permission he came in my house. You called him, right? You gave him consent to enter into your house. Then you cannot sue him for trespass. Number 2. If you have agreed to a surgical operation, then you cannot sue the surgeon for it, right? Suppose A is undergoing a kidney operation and doctors ने बोला है कि please sign this form, and then in the form it is clearly written that during kidney operation blood loss may happen. If blood loss happens, you cannot sue the surgeon, right? Because you signed the form, you gave consent to the surgeon for the surgery. Then afterwards you cannot sue him. Next example, if you agree to the publication of something you were aware of, then you cannot sue him for defamation. If you go to a newspaper editor and if you give him an article to publish and he publishes it, then afterwards, even if that article says something about you and people troll you for that, you cannot sue the editor for that because you voluntarily gave permission for the publication. Next, a player or umpire in the games is deemed to be ready to suffer any harm during the game, right? So if a cricketer gets injured or a footballer gets injured, he cannot say that I will file a suit, right? He voluntarily played the game. Nobody forced him to play a game, and in a play injury happens. Next, a spectator in the game of football will not be allowed to claim compensation for any damages suffered, right? A footballer gets injured while playing, he cannot sue the authorities for that. So these are some examples of volenti non fit injuria. What are the essential elements required in this case? Number 1, consent should be there, right? So consent of plaintiff must be there, and second, that consent must be free. It should not be under any mistake or fraud or coercion or undue influence. So just two conditions: consent of a plaintiff, and second is that consent must be free. Let us go through some case laws which are needed. Number 1 is Hall versus Brooklands Auto Racing Club. The plaintiff was a spectator. Spectator means जो game देखने के लिए जाते हैं. Okay. So the plaintiff was a spectator of a car racing event, and the track on which the race was going on belonged to the defendant. So defendant के track पे race चल रही थी, car race, and plaintiff वो race देखने गया था. During the race, two cars collided. Accident हो गया, and out of which One was thrown among the people who were watching the race. एक कार उड़ के people में चली गई. The plaintiff was injured. The court held that the plaintiff knowingly undertook the risk of watching the race. कि रेस में एक्सीडेंट तो हो सकते ही. He knew it, still he went to watch a game. It is a type of injury which could be foreseen by anyone watching the event. The defendant was not liable in this case. Injury थी and injury was foreseeable, means anyone can expect some such type of injury during a game. So in this case defendant was not liable to pay any damages to plaintiff. Second is Padmavati versus Duganika. The driver of a jeep took the jeep to fill petrol in it. So driver was filling petrol in a jeep on a petrol pump. Two strangers asked for a lift and took a lift in the jeep. So lift मांगी and driver ने उनको lift दे दी. The jeep got toppled due to some problem in the right wheel. Jeep का right wheel jam हो गया and वो upside down हो गई, उल्टी हो गई. The two strangers who took lift were thrown out of the jeep and they suffered some injuries leading to the death of one person. But ये जो केस है ये है voluntary non-fit injuria because these two persons they asked for a lift. Jeep driver ने तो lift नहीं दी थी, they asked for a lift, right? So this is a case of voluntary non-fit injuria and defendant is not liable to pay any damages to the plaintiff. Second defense which is available to defendant is plaintiff is a wrongdoer. मतलब plaintiff की खुद की भी गलती है, defendant की नहीं, तो दोनों की गलती है. So there is a maxim ex turpi causa non oritur actio which says that from an immoral cause no action arises, right? Plaintiff की खुद की भी गलती है, so he cannot file a suit against defendant. If the basis of the action by the plaintiff is an unlawful contract, then he will not succeed in his actions and he cannot recover damages. Example, plaintiff promises defendant, okay, that I will put a life into your dead son's body. And he tried some mantra and all. And he asked for money from defendant. Defendant is not liable to pay any money to the plaintiff because the cause is itself immoral. This is illegal. Next point, if a defendant asserts that the claimant himself is the wrongdoer, claimant means plaintiff यहाँ पे, is the wrongdoer and he is not entitled to the damages, then it does not mean that the court will declare him free from the liability, but he will not be liable under this head. Okay, so plaintiff की खुद की भी गलती है, गलती में plaintiff खुद भी involved है, is a good defense which defendant can take. What are the essential elements in this case? There are two essential elements in the defense of ex turpi causa and क्या है वो? Number one, the suit is brought by the plaintiff for the damage caused by the defendant and the defendant is fully responsible for such damage. Okay, so suit is plaintiff ने suit file किया है for the damage caused by the defendant and the defendant is fully responsible for such damage. So first one, suit is necessary, and second, the action of the plaintiff must be in a specific course of action which is illegal. Okay, जैसे plaintiff goes to defendant and asks for a contract of prostitution. Okay, afterward this contract itself is illegal. Under this contract no one can sue no one because contract itself is illegal or immoral. Let us see some examples or illustrations for ex turpi causa non oritur actio. A and B have decided to commit theft in C's house, right? Theft करना is itself a crime, so it is illegal. So A and B ने क्या decide किया? Will commit theft in C's house. But during this act, A gets injured because of B's negligence. Here, even though B is guilty of negligence, A cannot claim any damages because he suffered this injury as a result of being involved in an unlawful act of theft, and thus it falls in the category of ex turpi causa non oritur actio, right? Doing theft is crime, it is illegal act by itself. So even if he is injured during that act, he cannot sue his partner for it. Next example, if A is a passenger in a stolen car, चोरी की कार में A is a passenger, so this is illegal act, right? Which he knows is stolen, उसको पता है कि this is a stolen car, and still freely participates in it. Then if the car crashes and he gets injured, okay, A sits in a car which he knows that it is a stolen car. Still he sits in the car, and if accident happens, he cannot get damages from the driver of the car because A was also involved in the criminal act and therefore no action can arise here by the operation of extorpi causa non oritur actio. Students, while writing your paper, please provide examples which are called illustrations in the form of A and B plus case laws. You will score like anything. And on these points, I have made separate lectures also, okay, on act of God, on volunteer non-fit injuria. So for long questions, you can refer those questions, and for damages or question on liability in torts, please refer this question. Case laws. Pitts versus Hunt. A rider aged 18 years encouraged his 16-year-old friend for driving fast under drunken state. मोटरसाइकिलिस्ट थे दोनों, 18 year and 16 year. 18 year ने 16 year को बोला please drive very fast when he was in a drunken position. Both were drunk. The vehicle met an accident and the younger boy died. And older suffered injuries and brought action against relatives of deceased for compensation for injuries. The court denied such plea of compensation as the plaintiff in this case was himself the wrongdoer and the defendant can use the defense to get away from the liability. Next case, Board versus Holbrook. The plaintiff was entitled to recover damages suffered by him due to the spring guns set by defendant in his garden without any notice for the same. Defendant ने अपने garden में spring guns बिठाई थी, okay, to catch rabbits, and plaintiff वहां पे जाके accidentally got injured. In this case, defendant should put a notice board that please be aware of the spring guns. So in this case, defendant is liable. Point number 3 is inevitable accident. Accident means an unexpected injury, and if the same accident could not have been stopped or avoided despite taking all due care and precautions on the part of the defendant, then it's an inevitable accident. It serves as a good defense as the defendant could show that the injury could not be stopped even after taking all the precautions and there was no intent to harm the plaintiff. Suppose you are traveling on a road and आपके brakes, गाड़ी के brakes fail हो जाते हैं. In that case, if you injure someone, you are not liable because this is an inevitable accident. No one can control it. Okay, suppose you are driving on a road and a deer comes, okay, or a bear comes in front of you, and in order to escape from the deer, you put a brake and the other car hits on your car from the back. This is called as an inevitable accident. Essential elements of inevitable accident. Number 1, there should be some accident. Accident means sudden injury. Number 2, accident could not have been stopped or avoided despite taking all due care and precautions on the part of the defendant. कि कितनी भी कोशिश करके you cannot stop the accident from happening. And number 3, no intent to harm the plaintiff. कोई भी बुरी intention to harm plaintiff should not be there. So if these 3 essential elements are there, this defense can be invoked of inevitable accident. Case laws involved in this defense. Stanley versus Powell. The defendant and the plaintiff went for a pheasant shooting. Pheasant is a bird, okay? The defendant fired at a pheasant. Pheasant की तरफ उसने गोली चलाई, but the bullet after getting reflected by an oak tree पे जाके hit हो गई and reflect हो गई bullet, hit the plaintiff and he suffered serious injuries. The incident was considered as an inevitable accident and the defendant was not liable in this case. Okay, so यहाँ पे it's an inevitable accident which there is no intention to cause harm. Second, in Assam State Corporation, etc., Federation Limited versus Srimati Anubha Sinha, the premises which belonged to the plaintiff were let out to the defendant. Okay, plaintiff ने अपने premises defendant को दिए थे. The tenant, that is the defendant, requested the landlord to repair the electric wirings of the portion which were defective. तो इलेक्ट्रिक वायरिंग डिफेक्टिव थे, तो प्लेंटिफ ने डिफेंडेंट को बोला प्लीज रिपेयर इट, बट द लैंडलॉर्ड हु वाज डिफेंडेंट डिड नॉट टेक इट सीरियसली एंड फेल्ड टू डू सो. Due to short circuit, an accidental fire spread in the house. No negligence was there from the tenant's side. In an action by the landlord to claim compensation for the same, it was held that this was the case of an inevitable accident and the tenant is not liable. Tenant case में कोई भी गलती नहीं है. It was not his fault, but in fact it was landlord's fault because he neglected it. In spite of taking all the care, tenant could not avoid this accident because wires were defective, right? Defense number 4 is act of God. circumstances where the injury is directly due to certain natural causes, there would be no human intervention and no human foresight could visualize the act. Therefore, act of God is basically nothing but act of nature, an act caused by natural forces which is beyond human imagination or beyond human control. For example, hurricane, flood, okay, tsunami, twisters, earthquakes, landslides, snow slides, hurricanes. These are the examples of act of God. In such a case, the primary reason is traced to nature or God. No liability arises in this case. Vis major is derived from the Latin word vis means force and major means greater. Greater force by nature is called vis major, which is also called as an act of God. That is an irresistible force of nature that has irreversible effects that may exclude one from a contract's obligation under such conditions. Next point, superior power is the meaning of the expression vis major. In law, it implies an unavoidable accident. In civil law, this phrase is used in much the same manner as the words of act of God in common law. What are the essential elements for this defense or for an act of God? Natural forces working should be there. So number one, natural forces should be there. An act of God is a unnatural, unusual and unintended expression of nature's power or misfortune or tragedy arising out of inevitable necessity. Fair human foresight and care will not deter an act of God. जैसे flood आ गया, you cannot predict how much damage will happen in that case and it is beyond human beings' control. Next, there must be an extraordinary occurrence and not the one which could be anticipated and guarded against reasonably. So these two essential elements should be there. Number one, natural forces, and second, which is unavoidable or which cannot be guarded against reasonably. Case laws. Nicholas versus Marshland. Defendant created an artificial lake on his land by collecting water from natural streams. स्ट्रीम से वाटर लेके उसने आर्टिफिशियल ऑर्नामेंटल लेक बनाया था अपनी प्रॉपर्टी में. Once there was an extraordinary rainfall, heaviest in the human memory. The embankment of the lake got destroyed and washed away all the 4 bridges belonging to the plaintiff. Because of flood, उसमें plaintiff के bridges wash off हो गए. Because of that, lake में बाढ़ आ गई. The court held that the defendant were not liable as the same was due to act of God. Next, Kallu Lal versus Hemchand. The wall of a building collapsed due to normal rainfall of about 2.66 inches. The incident resulted in the death of the respondent's children. The court held that the defense of act of God cannot be pleaded by the appellants in this case as that much rainfall was normal and something extraordinary is required to plead the defense, right? 2.66 inches rain is normal. So isme the wall was weak. So this defense is not available. Next defense is private defense. The law has given permission to protect one's life and property, and for that it has allowed the use of reasonable force to protect himself and his property. कोई अगर चोरी करने आपके property में आता है, you can defend your property and you can attack on the thief. If somebody is trying to kill you, you can counter attack and kill the person. This is called as right of private defense. So if you injure someone while defending yourself, that defense is considered as a private defense. Next point, the use of force is justified only for the purpose of self-defense. Okay, justifiable means if someone enters in your house, you are supposed to attack him, but not a severe attack which will kill that person, right? You can disable that person or you can lock the person inside the room if possible. Next point, there should be an imminent threat to a person's life or property and the force used must be reasonable and to repel an imminent danger. Okay, so there should be some threat. ऐसे ही किसी पे जाके you cannot attack and call that it is my private defense. Example, A tried to commit a robbery in the house of B and A just draw out his sword and chopped his hand, and then this act of A would not be justified and the defense of private defense cannot be pleaded, right? If chore is coming, you can shout, you can call your neighbors, right? Or you can make some noise or you can hit the person, but you are not supposed to take a sword and chop off his hand, right? So that amount of force should be justifiable in a case. What are the essential elements in case of this defense? Number one, the use of force is justified only for the purpose of self-defense. Self-defense के लिए ही you can use some force, not otherwise. Second, there should be an imminent threat to a person's life or property. Imminent means nearby threat. कोई आके attack कर रहा है, then only you can attack. If somebody is staying on a road, you cannot go and attack on that person. So these two essential elements are required for this defense. Case laws involved in this case. Number one, Ramanuj Mudali versus M. Gagan. A landowner, that is the defendant, had laid a network of live wires on his land. The plaintiff, in order to reach his own land, tried to cross his land at 10 p.m. रात को उसने उसका खेत क्रॉस करके अपने खेत में जाना चाहा. He received a shock and sustained some serious injuries due to the live wires, and there was no notice regarding it. The defendant was held liable in this case as the use of live wires is not justified, right? So you are not supposed to put live wires in your area, and if you are doing so, you are supposed to put it on a notice board that please be aware. Okay, do not enter in this farm. But there was no such notice, and in this case, this is not a self-defense. Next point, in Collins versus Ransom, the plaintiff went up a ladder, सीढ़ी पे चढ़ गया, for nailing a board on a wall in the defendant's garden. The defendant threw him off the ladder, and when sued, he said that he just gently pushed him off the ladder and nothing else. It was held that the force used was not justifiable as a defense, right? He entered in his property, but this much force is not needed. He is not supposed to throw him. He can warn a neighbor. Next defense which is available is necessity. If an act is done to prevent greater harm, even though the act was done intentionally, it is not actionable and serves as a good defense. For example, defendant is going in his car and his brakes get failed. Brakes get fail हो गए. In order to avoid crashing on some other car, he enters into plaintiff's property and hits on his mango tree. Okay, mango tree पे crash हो जाती है उसकी car. Because of this, mango tree gets damaged. In this case, in order to avoid greater harm of killing some people in some other car, he crashed against the mango tree. So this is called necessity, and in this case, defendant is not liable to play plaintiff though he damaged his mango tree. Remember one thing, next point, it should be distinguished from private defense and inevitable accident. Private defense is different, inevitable accident is different, and necessity is different. Please provide examples. You don't have to read this entire slide. Just provide example of necessity, private defense, and inevitable accident, which we already discussed. In Lay versus Gladstone, it was held that the forcible feeding of a person who was hunger striking in a prison served as a good defense for a tort of battery. Okay, so इसमें क्या हुआ? A person was doing hunger strike in a prison. Okay, in order to save him, prison authorities forcibly tried to feed him some food. So the next party charged prison authorities for battery for attacking him. But this is a defense because they did this to save the plaintiff, right? Because वो मर रहा था and they forcibly tried to feed him. Next is Cope versus Sharpe. The defendant entered the plaintiff's premises to stop the spread of fire in the adjoining land where the defendant's master had the shooting rights. Since the defendant's act was to prevent greater harm, he was held not liable for trespass, right? Because to save the property from fire, he entered in others' property, which is otherwise a trespass, but in order to stop the fire, he entered in the property, so it was a necessity. In case of Carter versus Thomas, the defendant who entered the plaintiff's land's premises in good faith to extinguish the fire, at which the fire extinguishing workmen were already working, was held guilty of the offense of trespass. जहाँ पे firemen are already working, you are not supposed to go in that land, and in this case, the defendant was charged for trespass and he cannot take the defense of necessity. Next defense is mistake, galti. The mistake is of two types, mistake of law and mistake of facts. Mistake of law is not at all excused. Sometimes, depending upon the case, mistake of fact can be excused. Okay, but generally in both conditions, no defense is available to the defendant. Generally, I'm saying. But when a defendant acts under a mistake, belief in some situation, then he may use the defense of mistake to avoid his liability under the law of torts. जैसे if a neighbor sees that a snake entering into some other neighbor's house, okay, he thinks, but actually it's not a snake, but a big piece of rope, and in order to kill the snake, he enters into neighbor's property. In this case, he cannot be sued for trespass. There was a mistake, but it is a genuine mistake. Case law, Morrison versus Ritchie and Company. The defendant, by mistake, published a statement that the plaintiff had given birth to twins in good faith. Okay, plaintiff was a celebrity. Defendant ने लिख दिया कि he gave birth to twins and उसका कोई bad intention नहीं था. The reality of the matter was that the plaintiff got married just 2 months before. The defendant was held liable for the offense of defamation, and the element of good faith is immaterial in such case, right? Editor should verify the facts before publishing. So this is not a good defense in this case. In Consolidated Company versus Cortis, an auctioneer auctioned some goods of his customer, believing that the goods belonged to him. But then the true owner filed a suit against the auctioneer for the tort of conversion. The court held that auctioneer liable and mentioned that the mistake of fact is not a defense that can be pleaded here. So generally speaking, mistake of law or fact is not a good defense. Only in rare cases, depending upon the facts of the case, sometimes mistake of fact can be used as a defense, but generally it is not a good defense. Next defense, by mistake I wrote number 9, it's number 8, is statutory authority. If law allows you to do something, you can do it. If an act is authorized by any act or statute, statute means law of parliament or law made by parliament. Any act, IPC is a statute, law of contract is a statute. Then it is not actionable even if it would constitute a tort otherwise. Right? Jesse police officer has a warrant and he enters in your property to arrest you. Though entering in a property is a trespass, in this case it is not, because he has a statutory authority to arrest you. It is a complete defense and the injured party has no remedy except for claiming compensation as may have been provided by the statute. Immunity under statutory authority is not given only for the harm which is obvious, but also for the harm which is incidental. Case laws relating to this defense, Vaughan versus Taff Valve Rail Company. Sparks from an engine of the respondent's railway company were authorized to run the railway. Okay, respondent had a authority to run a railway. But because of the fire from railway, okay, उसके engine से जो spark निकलते हैं, set fire to the appellant's woods on the adjoining land. It was held that since they did not do anything which was prohibited by the statute and took due care and precaution, they were not liable. So in this case, a respondent is not directly liable, but the state is liable. Okay. So he can take a defense of statutory authority, that I had authority to run a railway, and while running a railway, sparks might come from an engine and it can injure someone's property. So this is a good defense. In Hammersmith Rail Company versus Brand, the value of the property of the plaintiff depreciated due to the loud noise and vibrations produced from the running trains on the railway line, which was constructed under a statutory provision. Okay, so इस केस में क्या हुआ, plaintiff की property was constructed under a statutory permission. It got depreciated, उसकी value कम हो गई. Why? Due to loud noise and vibrations produced from trains. The court held that nothing can be claimed for the damage suffered as it was done as per the statutory provisions. Right? Running a railway is a law. Statute is there. So even if some damages happen, in this case, railway is not liable. So these were the general defenses which are available in case of law of torts. 8 defenses are there. Explain all of them one by one. Okay. So and then conclude. Remember, you have to conclude every answer to get good marks. So general defenses are set of excuses, okay, that you can undertake to escape liability. So if these defenses are there, you are not liable. In order to escape liability in the case where the plaintiff brings an action against the defendant for a particular tort, providing the existence of all the essentials of that tort, the defendant would be liable for the same. It mentions all the defenses which can be pleaded in cases depending upon the circumstances and fact. So these are all the defenses which are available and which are called as general defenses. That's it for the day. Stay tuned till my next lecture. Goodbye and good luck. So far we discussed civil law legal system and common law legal system in its purest form. We discussed some dilution of these systems as well. So if there is a question in examination, you have to provide about what is common law legal system, what is civil law legal system, what is the origin of common law legal system, and what is the origin of civil law legal system, which types of rules are followed in both the systems, then comparative study of these systems by giving appropriate examples from acts of the parliament, from constitution or from case laws, and then you have to provide today's dilution of these legal systems or how they are combined in different countries. So far we discussed civil law and common law legal system, which is a very important topic in comparative law. So if you have any doubts, please mention your doubts, or if you want me to explain about any other topic in law, please provide for the topic. I'm going to provide lots of other legal topics and coming up with other like law topics for UPSC and MPSC students as well. So stay tuned till my next lecture. Goodbye and good luck.